about A&M, and I'll tell a quick story here to start off because we almost didn't have what we have. After Jimbo Fisher was fired about a year ago, A&M set its sights on Mark Stoops, the University of Kentucky coach. And after Stoops beat Louisville last year on the final regular season weekend, the president and the athletic director at A&M, plus a booster or two, flew to Stoops's house. And guess what? They offered him the job and he accepted. Now you're starting to say, well, how come Mark Stoops was losing again against Auburn on Saturday night while Elko was winning? By the time the plane got back to College Station, the word had got out. There was a revolt underway by some very important people, and they suddenly decided. Remember this story? You were probably on the air at the time. About 1 o'clock in the morning, Mark Stoops issued a statement saying,
Yep.
he loves Kentucky and wants to spend the rest of his life there. And then the next morning they hired Elko. And that's how we ended up with one of the great stories in college football this year.
So, yes, now it's time to just peel this back layer by layer. I said it on Sunday, Bloody Sunday. If you're hearing it for the first time, here's my take on all of that. Because, Paul, you know this better than anyone. When a coaching vacancy comes open at a big-time university, there is a thought within that cauldron of people that we need to go get the biggest name possible to make us a story in college football. One problem, that story sometimes ends after the press conference. And all Texas A&M did here was find a guy that's not going to win the presser. He's not going to win the booster room. He's not going to win any of that stuff off the field, but he knows how to coach football. And Texas A&M had to be helped to get to that point because the first guy they wanted, there was a revolt. And now they've got one of the best stories this year because Mike Elko goes back to Texas A&M. They're in the driver's seat for an SEC championship just a year after we're sitting here going, God, the Jimbo thing didn't work out. And here's A&M.
And Matt, I was out there a couple of weeks ago, and it's a very culture related school, and Elko fits that culture. It's very buttoned down culture. They're no nonsense. Jimbo Fisher was just your classic BSer. He wasn't a serious coach. He was a politician. And in some ways, I believe Elko was referring, well, not in some ways. Of course, he was referring to him last night after the game when he said, I'm not a politician. I'm not a BSer. He just coaches football. And I know that's like a cliche you can get anywhere you want. But that's what they wanted out there because they want serious people. They want people that know how to do it, not who will tell you how it's going to be done. And we may be seeing something that we've been wondering about for forever, and that's with all the resources that A&M has. And there's really only one school that has more resources, and that's the school down the road in Austin. Can Texas A&M ever break through? And they're on the verge of it because what we saw in that second half last night was unbelievable. I mean, I was getting texts from people in the first half. Brian Kelly, Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Not anymore.